For more, let's turn to Scott Wong, senior staff writer on The Hill. Thanks for joining us, Scott. Now, we know Democrats have been calling for the release of this report, but did they have a plan in place if Attorney General Barr does not turn over the full Mueller report to Congress?
Well, I think they're just going to be amping up the pressure as much as possible to have William Barr either submit some kind of summary about the Mueller report or a redacted version of the report. If for some reason William Barr refuses to do so, I think, as Paula just mentioned, we will see some action by House Democrats to go to the courts to request a copy of this. You know, another possibility is that, you know, the AG could go to some classified briefings and brief members of Congress in classified briefings, answer any questions they may have in a classified setting. But there is going to be enormous, enormous push to have much of this report made as public as possible.
Now, when we saw the November midterm elections, speaking of pushes, a lot of those new members of Congress, those Democrats, have been calling for impeachment. But the Democratic leadership, your Pelosi's, your Durbins, your Hoyers, they've been sort of sidestepping that, not wanting to talk about impeachment. So if there are no bombshells, like Paula said there probably won't be in this report, do the Democrats then have a political problem on their hands? I mean, what happens to talks of impeachment?
Well, I think Nancy Pelosi and the leadership, if we look to the 2018 campaign cycle, they were really able to tamp down some of that rhetoric of impeachment and really focus on the policy issues like Obamacare, like some of the harms of the GOP tax reform bill. And that proved to be a winning message and a winning strategy for Democrats. I think if there are no bombshells coming out of this report, I think we will see Nancy Pelosi and the leadership try to replicate that strategy and really to tamp down the impeachment voices as much as possible heading into the 2020 election.
Now, House Democrats gearing up for a number of other investigations of the Trump administration, doing a lot of poking around, Scott, as you know, beyond the Russia connection. So what else are they mostly interested in probing?
Well, they're taking a look at all of the cabinet secretaries, seeing if there's any. They really do see fertile ground in probing some of the cabinet secretaries, like Betsy DeVos at the Education Department, even some of the past secretaries, and then of course the president's private entities, including the Trump Hotel in Washington. There's a lot of questions surrounding, various governments staying at the hotels, whether that's seen as an attempt to curry favor with the president. But I really do feel like the Mueller investigation, no matter what comes out of this, really will overshadow all of those other investigations and really will suck a lot of the oxygen out of the room when it comes to investigations into this administration. Yeah,
oversight was a big deal in those November midterm elections. Meanwhile, Speaker Pelosi urging members to back a resolution by Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro, the Democrat, to terminate President Trump's national emergency declaration. How likely is that to pass, Scott, and what exactly would it mean?
Well, what it means is that it would effectively stop the president from executing this emergency declaration at the border, his ability to shift funds around in order to pay for his wall at the southern border with Mexico. It is very likely, almost certain, to pass the House of Representatives because all it needs is a majority vote. Democrats control the House. That should be no problem. What we're looking for right now is whether it will pass the Senate and whether I think it's 4 Republicans will cross the aisle and vote with Democrats on the resolution. Essentially, once the House passes the resolution in the House, it would force a vote and force Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, to take up the resolution in the Senate. We're not expecting this to happen for a number of weeks yet. This process will be dragged out as it goes through the committee process. But eventually, if the House and the Senate take it up and pass it, it ends up on President Trump's desk. And then at that point, we know he has threatened to veto the resolution.
Yeah, Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine indicating that she may vote with the Democrats. So if that holds true, looks like they may only need 3 votes from Republicans in the Senate now.
Right.
Scott, you wrote this week that Democrats think that they are beating the president in this national emergency battle. Why is that?
Well, they're looking to the polls, and right now a PBS and NPR poll that just came out this week showed that 60% of Americans oppose the president's emergency declaration at the border. They're hoping that it's challenged in the courts. It's already seen a number of lawsuits from California and 15 other states. But I will say that this issue has galvanized and energized both sides. 85% of Republicans said they support the president's decision to go it alone, effectively, and Democrats equally are opposed to it. And so it's the folks in the middle, the independents, that are sort of swinging in opposition to the president. And where that's significant, although we are still many, many months away from the 2020 election, those independents will be key to whoever wins the White House in 2020.
Scott Wong of The Hill. Scott, thanks for the insight today.
Thanks so much.